This is RetroGamerDaz, this is Blast Win for the Sega Saturn, and it's worth a hell of a lot of money. But is it worth a hell of a lot of money? Let's take a look and find out for you. Okay then, so this is a fairly straightforward shooter. One of the things that you'll immediately notice is that it's not the prettiest looking of Saturn games. In all honesty, it looks like a high-end Mega Drive game. It's got nice visuals, but these aren't what you'd expect from a 32-bit system. And it's highly possible that if you'd bought this back in the day, you'd have been like, really? Is this it? However, looks are not everything, as my wife constantly tells me, and there is a lot more to this game than meets the eye. So that Gorn there, that's possibly a reference to the Thunder Force series, which Gorn is I think it's to do with like the enemy base. So it's quite possible that this was intended as part of the Thunder Force canon. It is by Technosoft after all, but we may never know, and Technosoft certainly aren't saying anything because they're now bought by Sega. So one thing that you'll have noticed with this is there's a little push button, and ultimately, depending on whether you choose to push it or not, will depend on which section of the level you go to. So you've got multiple routes during the game, and it's a nice little touch because it ultimately means that there's a little bit of replay value. You've got two different types of firepower, as I'm showing you here, and you can obviously upgrade both of those items, and we're straight into a boss. So it's not a huge boss rush, but the battles do come thick and fast, and there's some quite cool bosses in this. The scoring system is fairly straightforward. It's nothing too complex, so it's not going to take you long before you realise that you can pretty much max out the game in terms of what you can score. I am very rusty on this game, so you're not going to see anything amazing from me, but because the levels are relatively short, you should get a good idea of what the game's got to offer. There's some nice little details here, like the little guys running around along the bottom of the screen. So again, here's an option here, so if we push it, we're going to move around to another section of the game. It's got a really nice soundtrack, as you'd expect from a Technosoft game, but as with what was the other game we looked at a while ago, Hyperdual, the mix isn't the best, so you kind of have the music get drowned out by the explosions, which isn't brilliant. It's a shame that there was no option to swap that around. Now, I read an article a while ago about how this was apparently an arcade game. It was intended for the arcade, and it's rumoured that there are versions of the board out in the wild, but it's incredibly rare. It would make sense because Technosoft did dabble with the arcade. There's coins there that'll give you basically boost your power. Yeah, it would make sense that it would have started off as an arcade game or become an arcade game, but no one seems to have that much information on it. Okay, I'm going a bit quiet because I'm obviously trying to. There's a nice power up. There's nothing like a nice satisfying bomb and shoot 'em up, and that's got a cool one. Oh, and look at that, and we're on our way. So I think the first time I played this, actually, after a couple of credits, I got right to the end after about 30 minutes, which was a bit disappointing when you consider what it sells for. But there is replay value to it. It's not quite as complex as a lot of shooters that are available on the Saturn, and while the scoring isn't the trickiest to get your head around, if you do try and max it out, it is going to take you a little while to master. Yeah, I do like the oversized bosses in this. It does it doesn't feel like a Mega Drive game which is amped up to the 9th degree. This has got a nice Super LS vibe to it here, with those backgrounds. And again, like I said, we're straight into another boss. Oh, this one's really cool. I think he's got a little orb thing that follows you around. Oh, dead again. So I'm playing this on on a normal setting, but I've upped up my credits, continues and lives, just so you can hopefully see a little bit more of the game, because I'm going to play around to the 10-minute mark. Oh God, look. So as you can see here, it's showing you the route that I've taken to the boss, and I was quite close to him. So let's carry on and see how we get on with him. Yeah, this guy is spinning around all over the place. And this is a nice little weapon. So again, the actual weapons have a Musha-like feel to them. So you know, I don't know if any compile developers were involved in this game, but it definitely feels like it has Musha elements to it. Oh dear, I should have seen that coming. So I guess really what we need to talk about is this game worth the money it sells for? You may be lucky and you may be able to pick it up for around 170 quid, but in general it typically sells for around the 300 quid mark. And if you want a mint condition one, you're going to be spending upwards of £600. As much as I enjoy this game, and where I was heartily telling you to do whatever you could to get your hands on Hyperdual, this game unfortunately isn't to the same caliber. It is very decent, but there simply isn't enough, I don't think, to hold your value. It doesn't have the replayability that fun Hyperdual has. The scoring system is nowhere near as complex. The mechanics of the game are nowhere near as deep. So you may regret buying it if you have a drunk purchase, which is how I ended up with it. I mean, ironically, back in the day, I had the option of buying this for around 60 quid, and I never did that because where I bought my Saturn and 28 shooters for £500, £70 for a single shooter seemed ridiculous at the time. As it turned out, I ended up paying a lot more for that because I bought this probably about a year and a half ago, and from my own personal experience, it's certainly not worth the money I paid for it. Yes, you can say that. Well, you can probably sell it on and get what you paid for, but it's a big investment, and there simply isn't enough here to really justify it, if I'm honest. So, and I mean, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments, because obviously money is subjective, and what may be expensive to somebody is going to be nowhere near as expensive to someone else, and incredibly expensive to the next person. In general, one of my friends, John Shapaniak, who's an author who you may have heard of, his general opinion with retro games is to never pay what they retailed for in the first place, which kind of makes sense, because from his point of view, his argument is, well, that's what the game sold for, that's what the developers originally deemed it was worth, so that's what you should pay. While that's a decent viewpoint, the other thing you have to remember is that if you want to, you know, if you collect retro games now, you have to pay what the going market is, and while there's a slim possibility that you may pick something like this up in a car boot, let's face it, it's incredibly unlikely. So you've got to literally go for what the market price is, and the market price for this is around £200 to £300. So that's what you have to decide if it's worth it. And for money people, I don't think it will be. And even if you love Technosoft games, or you love the Saturn and you want to go for a complete collection, you're going to have to think long and hard about it. I certainly did. So that's all I've really got to say about this. I do like it, as you can probably tell. I just don't think it's worth 300 quid. You may feel differently, and I'd love to hear about your thoughts in the comments. So we're going to wrap it up here. If you have enjoyed this video, please obviously like it and subscribe, because it really does make a difference to the algorithm and the views. I've been RetroGamerDaz. I will be back on Thursday for a late to the party, and I've got quite a good one lined up. I won't ruin it, but stick around for that one. And otherwise, that's it from me. So I'll be back soon, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, everyone. Bye.